He was asked about this by journalists, that there would be a loan or loan guarantee. But of course, he did have contact with Sam Blythe, then went to the Cabinet Secretary, Simon Case. That was, Mr Heppenstall argues, a conflict of interest he should have mentioned when applying for this very senior, high-paid job on a pretty high salary, £160,000 a year, and therefore he has decided to go. Now, Ian, what happens next? Well, he is going to remain in position until a replacement is found, so he's going to be in position for a few more months. But clearly a very embarrassing episode for Mr Sharp. Also, I think perhaps his decision today saves Rishi Sunak from having to make a difficult decision. We know the Prime Minister is appearing later today in Scotland and Wales at party conferences, the Scottish Conservative Party conference and the Welsh Conservatives Party conference, likely, I'm sure, to be asked about this. But the fact that Mr Sharp has acted and acted fast, doing that statement, recording that statement with the BBC even before the report was released to all of us, I think has saved Rishi Sunak some difficult questions, and he argues, Mr Sharp argues, it saves also the BBC from more difficult, painful headlines. He said that what he did was with the best of intentions. He claims there's no evidence he played any part in the facilitation, arrangement or financing of that loan to Boris Johnson, but also there was regret there. He regretted, as he said, that he hadn't mentioned this to the panel and to the Culture Select Committee. He apologised to BBC staff for the distraction he has been in recent weeks, and now his time as BBC chair is coming to an end. He's acted quickly, Ian, but I suppose critics of Mr Sharp would argue he should have acted many months ago. This report has dragged the story out unnecessarily long, and therefore he has caused yet more damage to the organisation, the corporation that he should have been standing up for and prioritising in his job as chairman.
Joe, what really strikes me as being very interesting in all of this, looking again at the statement from Richard Sharp announcing his resignation a few moments ago, is that he stresses that Adam Heppenstall found that his breach was inadvertent and not material. And actually, the BBC board appears to have come to that conclusion. So it sounds very much as though Richard Sharp retained the backing of the BBC board.
Certainly allies, Ian, of Mr Sharp have said in recent days that there are people on the BBC board who are very supportive of his contribution. On that fact of a breach of the appointments code, it is clear, and Mr Sharp recognised even before this report was out, that he had breached the code. And as you say, the sort of judgment of Mr Heppenstall was how bad was that breach? Was it material breach? Was it an inadvertent breach? Of course, Mr Sharp argued it and has argued it was inadvertent. He clearly does have some supporters on the BBC board, and there are certain media reports today that some senior BBC management are publicly very supportive of the role he has played. Of course, what the BBC have now with Mr Sharp is somebody who is pretty supportive of their needing more funding, but also can communicate with Rishi Sunak well, because he used to work for him at Goldman Sachs. He is, some people within the BBC argue, an effective communicator, an effective lobbyist towards Mr Sunak. But ultimately, the bad headlines, Ian, he has created in recent weeks, hanging on to his job, as Mr Heppenstall has been compiling this report, has been damaging to the corporation. And that, I think, is ultimately why he's decided that if he hadn't resigned now, and he'd have created even worse headlines, and that would have been, damaging to the BBC for a number of days potentially, and therefore he's decided to jump before he potentially was pushed.
Okay, thanks, Joe, for that. Well, joining me now on the telephone is Professor Tim Luckhurst. He's principal of Durham University's South College, and he is, of course, a former editor of news programmes at BBC Scotland. Tim Luckhurst, your reaction, please.
Well, the BBC has lost a Conservative chairman who was probably more friendly to the BBC than many other Conservatives. The circumstances in which Richard Sharp has resigned are, of course, ones for which he is responsible, and he's taken responsibility for his error and quit at this stage. But I think the BBC now faces a challenge. As you recognise, Richard Sharp is regarded inside the BBC as a very competent and supportive chairman. And given that any Conservative government is going to appoint a Conservative to chair the BBC will be wondering whether they're going to get somebody who is as competent, as supportive, and as passionate about the BBC as Richard Sharp clearly has been.
Tim, I'm struck by, the people say that history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Of course, the BBC was in this position 19 years ago when another former chairman, who was also an ex-Goldman Sachs executive, Gavin Davis, resigned over the BBC's coverage of the Iraq War. What is this going to do for morale inside the BBC?
That'll be a major challenge for BBC management, and I'm sure that they're conscious of it. As you say, they have had previous experience of such resignations and of such controversy. It's important to note, of course, that the chairman isn't a hands-on editorial figure, rather a supporter, a guide, an advisor to senior BBC executives. And in that sense, they will be in a good position to move forward. But staff do need reassurance. The BBC's rarely been under as much pressure as it currently is under, and in the sense that he was a Conservative who understood the purpose of the licence fee, understood the value of the BBC as a public service broadcaster, I know that there will be anxiety amongst BBC staff about what happens in future and about whether they could really expect to get someone with a similar set of sympathies to replace Richard Sharp as their chairman.
Well, I think that's a really, really good point you've made there. In terms of someone who could fight the BBC's corner, particularly with all sorts of questions over the BBC's funding, you couldn't really have got someone better than Richard Sharp, who knows the highways and byways of the finance sector really well. And as you say, Rishi Sunak used to work for him.
That's absolutely right. And of course, to get someone in politics who is well connected in the Conservative Party and also sympathetic to the corporation is a very big challenge. After all, there are not many in politics, and certainly few in the Conservative Party, who are really familiar with the broadcast sector and who really have sympathy for the public sector broadcasting ideals. He's not the only one. There are others, but many of them are people who are currently doing rather serious jobs and working full-time in other positions. So this is going to be a big challenge, and it will be very interesting to see how quickly the government goes about replacing Mr. Sharp, because it is, after all, a prime ministerial decision, and how carefully they do it. And will they privilege the interests of the Conservative Party or seek to balance the interests of the Conservative Party with the interests of the BBC? At a time when a general election is looming, that's a crucial question.
Kirst, greatly appreciate you joining me this morning. Thank you very much indeed. This story obviously developing by the minute. The BBC board has just issued the following statement. Let me read that to you. The BBC board statement says, "We accept and understand Richard's decision to stand down. We want to put on record our thanks to Richard, who has been a valued and respected colleague and a very effective chairman of the BBC. The BBC board believes that Richard Sharp is a person of integrity. Richard has been a real advocate for the BBC, its mission, and why the corporation is a priceless asset for the country at home and abroad. He has always had the impartiality of the BBC and a desire to see the organisation thrive at the forefront of his work as chairman. We understand that the UK government is moving swiftly to begin the process of appointing a new chairman of the BBC in line with the terms of the BBC's charter." So there you go. Very interesting indeed. That really reiterates what I was saying to Joe Pike a couple of moments ago, which was that the BBC board was clearly behind its chairman, but he's obviously decided, for reasons of maintaining, keeping the focus off the BBC, he has decided to go. We can get further reaction now from Ali Fortescue, who is in Westminster now. Ali, you've been having a look at the report from Adam Heptinstall. What's in it?
Yeah, well, we know that Richard Sharp has decided to go, but obviously we are still looking through the detail. This is a report. It's just landed. It's about 25 pages long. And if I take you to the second page, here you go. He says, the successful candidate, Mr. Richard Sharp, failed to disclose a potential perceived conflicts of interest to the panel. So that is right at the heart of this. This was what this was looking at, that loan guarantee between that Richard Sharp helped the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson get. And you see here, Mr. Sharp informed the Prime Minister that he wished to be chair of the BBC board. That is crucial, not something I'm sure that we knew before. And then it goes on to say, you can see at the bottom, 2.3, these matters gave rise to a potential perceived conflict of interest. There is a risk of a perception that Mr. Sharp was recommended for appointment because he assisted the former Prime Minister in a private financial matter and or he influenced the former Prime Minister to recommend him by informing him of his application before he submitted it. There may well have been a risk for a perception that Mr. Sharp would not be independent from the former Prime Minister. So that goes right to the heart of this, a breach of the governance code. There you go, in the report by Adam Heppingsall KC. A breach of the governance code does not invalidate an appointment, he goes on to say. And this is what Richard Sharp was mentioning in that statement you heard from him there. He was keen to say that he didn't necessarily have to go because a governance code does not invalidate an appointment, but because there is a breach of the governance code, and I think the sense you get is that the BBC chairman does not want to be someone who is in the headlines. He obviously is all about keeping the impartiality, the perceived impartiality of the BBC. So he clearly felt it was time to go. That is the big news this morning, but we're obviously getting into the detail, this 25-page report that has just landed, Ian, and here you clearly see the former Prime Minister in a private financial matter and or that he influenced former Prime Minister to recommend him by informing him of his application before he submitted it. That is absolutely crucial to this.
All right, thanks, Ali. Still getting reaction right now. Just to update you, the chairman of the BBC, Richard Sharp, has resigned during the last 15 minutes. This follows the publication of a report by Adam Heppingsall KC into his involvement in the facilitation of a loan guarantee to the former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, which was not disclosed at the time that he was going through the appointment process to become chairman of the BBC. We've got a letter that I can read you now from the Culture Secretary, Lucy Fraser. This is to Richard Sharp, and the letter says, "Thank you for your letter notifying me of your decision to resign from your position as chair of the British Broadcasting Corporation. I understand and respect your decision to stand down. As you have stated, the BBC is a great national institution. Over the past 100 years, it has touched the lives of almost everyone in the United Kingdom and plays a unique part in our cultural heritage. It is respected globally, reaching hundreds of millions of people across the world every week. No other country in the world has anything quite like it. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for the work that you have done and the leadership you have provided as chair of the BBC. You have been a champion for what a strong BBC can achieve, not only for audiences at home, but also for the BBC's contribution to the economy and to the UK's global soft power. I would like to express my gratitude for your work with the government to maintain the BBC World Service in its unrivaled status as the world's largest international broadcaster and supporting its crucial role in tackling harmful disinformation through providing trusted news and analysis globally. I know that you are held in high regard by the BBC board. You have clearly demonstrated your commitment to public service, and I especially applaud the work that you did during the pandemic. Your decision to step down in the wider interests of the corporation is further testament to that commitment. Certainty and stability for the corporation are clearly a shared priority. In this context, I have spoken to the board and they have proposed that you stay in place until the next board meeting on the 27th of June 2023, whilst an acting chair is appointed in line with the Charter. I have accepted this and would like to thank you for your continued service to assist in ensuring an orderly and smooth transition takes place. We will also move to launch a process to identify and appoint a permanent new chair. Thank you once again for your service, and I wish you well for the future. I am sure there will be further opportunities for you to make a significant contribution to public life." That is the Culture Secretary, Lucy Fraser. A letter there to the outgoing chair of the BBC, Richard Sharp, who has resigned in the last 20 minutes. We can go back to Joe Pike in Westminster there. I mean, Joe, this narrative is really taking shape now that Richard Sharp has acted with integrity, that he didn't intentionally do anything wrong and had the full backing of the BBC board.
Interesting, Ian, that Lucy Fraser says she respects his decision as well in that letter that you just read out. Of course, she partly respects the decision because it makes her life far easier. The Charter states that she would have had a role in firing him. Ultimately, it would be up to her in consultation with the BBC board. And ultimately, I suppose Rishi Sunak would have been the key decision maker here. By deciding to resign, Mr Sharp has made life for both the Culture Secretary and the Prime Minister easier. Yes, there are people who've been supportive of Mr Sharp, as you say. There are many people within the BBC and BBC board who have been supportive. I suppose there was always a sort of balance to be struck here between the ongoing damage of Mr Sharp remaining in that job, the continuing bad headlines that he provoked. Yes, he breached the code. Maybe it wasn't a material breach, but he was involved in some way in this loan being given to Boris Johnson by a rich financier. Now, maybe he wasn't directly involved in it, but certainly the fact he went to the Cabinet Secretary, Simon Case, to warn him about it and to warn him that he wanted to apply for the job as BBC chairman, I think shows that there was a conflict that Mr Sharp recognised that he should have mentioned both to the appointments panel and to the Culture Select Committee. That Select Committee have already reported saying that there was a breach of the standards expected, and Mr Sharp made a significant error of judgment. And more reaction from politicians in the last few minutes. Lucy Powell, who's a Shadow Culture Secretary, has tweeted this: "I have this morning received the reports of the investigation to Richard Sharp, which Labour instigated. The report is clear. Mr Sharp breached the rules expected of candidates by failing to disclose his involvement in a personal loan to the then PM. As a result, this breach has caused untold damage to the reputation of the BBC and seriously undermined its independence as a result of the Conservatives' sleaze and cronyism. This comes after 13 years of the Tories doing everything they can to defend themselves and their mates." From Owen Paterson to Dominic Raab, she says, and now Richard Sharp, instead of doing what's best for the country, the PM was more interested in defending his old banking boss. The PM should have sacked him weeks ago. Instead, it took this investigation called by Labour to make him resign. Obviously, Lucy Powell with a pretty political, punchy response as to the different tone struck by the Culture Secretary. She ends, Lucy Powell, by saying, "Rishi Sunak should urgently establish a truly independent and robust process to replace Sharp to help restore some trust in the BBC after his government has tarnished it so badly." Now, of course, Mr Sharp was a Conservative donor, is a Conservative donor, but there have, of course, been, under Labour Prime Ministers, Labour appointees to this key position. It's always been a political position, that of BBC chairman, and therefore some would argue that Labour need to remember that when they are criticising what has happened here. I'm sure we'll have more reaction in the coming hours, but it does seem pretty clear that Mr Sharp realises the continuing damaging impact if he were to remain in post, and what could have happened today after the Heppenstall report had appeared if he hadn't resigned was more people, more politicians, more members of the Culture Select Committee asking for him to resign. We could have had difficult TV moments with him being, doorstepped. He has managed to neutralise all of that. This was, I suppose, a decision about his future, but also a carefully thought out communication strategy to sort of kill that story before it blew up. He's decided to resign, but we know he will stay for 2 more months in that position until an acting chair of the BBC board is appointed.
Thanks, Joe. Well, joining me now is Alex Crowley. He's worked closely with Boris Johnson, including on his Conservative leadership campaign, but he quit as a Downing Street political advisor in September 2019. Alex, thanks for joining me this morning. I mean, I'm reminded in all of this, this whole saga unravelled began when the Sunday Times reported in January of Richard Sharp's involvement in facilitating this loan guarantee. The background to all this, of course, was that around the time the loan was arranged, Boris Johnson was in serious financial difficulties.
Yes, and I think Richard Sharp has been somewhat the victim of Boris's, shall we say, chaotic personal life, which he perhaps didn't ever imagine that it would lead to this. I think it's worth remembering that we use the language about facilitation of a loan and arranging a loan. Of course, it makes him sound like he's a sort of bank manager, when I think in reality, as I think the report today makes clear, is that he set up a meeting to have a discussion about this. And whilst it's entirely right that there was a technical breach of the rules, he should have declared it to the panel who was making this decision. He did not declare it, and therefore it's a breach. And fair enough, he's done the right thing and resigned. We're not talking about some grand conspiracy here, I think.
No, it's quite interesting. I've just been rereading the original Sunday Times report on this from January this year. I mean, it did have some extraordinary details in it, saying that Sam Blythe, who was the provider of the loan guarantee, said before the loan was finalised, Johnson, Sharp and Blythe had a private dinner at Chequers, the Prime Minister's grace and favour home in the Chiltern Hills in Buckinghamshire, where, according to a source, they ate chop suey and drank wine. I mean, it's an extraordinary way for a sitting Prime Minister to go about business, isn't it?
Yes, it's a very unorthodox way, clearly, of going about things. And look, we don't, none of us knows the true state of Boris Johnson's personal finances. We know what clearly he declares as he has to as an MP and what he had to as a Prime Minister. But yes, look, it was a very unusual state of affairs. But, he is a very unusual politician in that regard. And ultimately, his own kind of chaotic style of doing things and not quite doing things properly ultimately led to his downfall. And so he has paid the price for that. And now it appears, of course, lots of other people are paying the price for that too, including today Richard Sharp.
Absolutely. What do you think the characteristics of the next chair of the BBC are going to likely to have to be? I mean, Richard Sharp was in many ways the ideal chair of the BBC. He was well plugged into Conservative circles. Rishi Sunak had worked for him. He's an extremely experienced financier. Just about everything that the BBC really needs as it juggles with these great funding commitments and challenges it faces.
Yes, look, it's important to remember that this is a political appointment. I don't think we should take any lessons from the Labour Party, who are saying, oh, no, it should be completely apolitical, it should be completely straight down the line. It isn't apolitical. Labour governments have appointed Labour people to this role, just as Conservative governments have done likewise. The key test here is it someone who actually has the gravitas and the authority? It's not, did they donate to the Conservative Party? Do they vote Conservative? Do they vote Labour? It's, are they right for the role? And it's not unreasonable for the Prime Minister of the day to appoint someone that is at least vaguely politically aligned to them. Once you become BBC chairman, of course, you have to follow the rules of the BBC. And of course, as we've seen with Richard Sharp today, there is big public scrutiny and accountability for that role. But there is politics behind all of this. The reason why the people went after Richard Sharp is because they didn't like the fact that Boris had appointed someone who was linked to the Conservative Party. We saw it with the attempt to appoint Paul Dacre as well. There's lots of politics around this. So the next appointment, Richard Sunak should do it with confidence, pick someone he believes in, and obviously follow the right process.
All right, Alex Crowley, good to talk to you this morning. Appreciate you joining me.
Thank you.
We're just going to remind you of the news that's broken during the last half hour, which is that Richard Sharp, the chairman of the BBC, has resigned. This follows a report by the King's Counsel, Adam Heppenstall, into the circumstances in which Boris Johnson received a loan guarantee in which Richard Sharp was said to have been involved. That was not disclosed during the process to which he was appointed to the BBC. The report says that the breach of any rules was inadvertent and not deliberate, but Richard Sharp has nonetheless decided to resign. We can play now what Richard Sharp said just a few moments ago.
Good morning. I would like to thank Adam Heppenstall and his team for the diligence and professionalism they have shown in compiling today's report. Mr. Heppenstall's view is that while I did breach the governance code for public appointments, he states very clearly that a breach does not necessarily invalidate an appointment. Indeed, I've always maintained the breach was inadvertent and not material, which the facts he lays out substantiate. The Secretary of State has consulted with the BBC board, who support that view. Nevertheless, I have decided that it is right to prioritise the interest of the BBC. I feel that this matter may well be a distraction from the corporation's good work were I to remain in post until the end of my term. I have, therefore, this morning, resigned as the BBC chair to the Secretary of State and to the board. It was proposed to me that I stay on as chair until the end of June, while the process to appoint my successor is undertaken, and I will, of course, do that in the interests of the corporation's stability and continuity. Let me turn to the events that are subject of today's report. When I sought in December 2020 to introduce the Cabinet Secretary to Mr. Blythe, I did so in good faith. I did so with the best of intentions, and I did so with the sole purpose of ensuring that all relevant rules were being followed. I am pleased that Mr. Heppenstall supports the fact that my involvement in these matters, as he states, was accordingly very limited. After extensive work, he states, his words, that he is happy to record that he has seen no evidence, and nor could he, to say I played any part whatsoever in facilitation, arrangement, or financing of a loan to the former Prime Minister. Now, during my conversation with the Cabinet Secretary on December the 4th, 2020, I reminded him of the fact that I was in the BBC appointment process. I believed, as a result of that conversation, that I had been removed from any conflict or perception of conflict. I understood this recusal to be absolute. This was my error. In my subsequent interview with the appointments panel, I wish, with the benefit of hindsight, this potential perceived conflict of interest was something I'd considered to mention. I would like once again to apologise for that oversight, inadvertent though it was, and for the distraction these events have caused the BBC. For more than 20 years, I've devoted time and energy to public service, whether at the Institute of Cancer Research, at the Royal Academy of Arts, on the Financial Policy Committee of the Bank of England, or as an economic advisor to the Treasury working up to protect British business, including the creative industries, during the pandemic. And for more than 2 years now, I've seen the beating heart of the BBC up close.
And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820. Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
there! Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Prampram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Prampram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Check me out. He tells me my energy is making him tired.
Yes!
How do you get the energy to do
I've been told that I have a lot of energy, but my goodness, I think today I have met my match, people. I have met my matchless Suzanne. Wow, amazing.
One of the things that's the start of the darkness. Hole of darkness.
So what did that?
Myself and the world in a jumpsuit. And 2019.
Forget the proverbial boardroom. Join me, Simone Frazier, on The CEO, the program that gives you the driving seat over your life. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. only on Starr Radio.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Turn it on. Turn it up.
Body is your ma. Bekutu, show them you got the coco set. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Harry Song, aka Mr. Songs. This is the Kingmaker Baba for the girls. We're here. This is Starr Radio. We don't go nowhere. UK, London. We they call them London for home. For here, we call them London. And that's how you know. Just have fun and stay blessed.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Starr Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
The coolest way to start your weekend. The best radio show.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world. In your car.
At work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Though your heart is aching, smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile. Hey, this is Archie, and you are listening to Starr Radio UK and the Morning Show.
This is Starr Radio. This is UK. Starr Radio UK. This is Starr Radio UK.
Welcome.
Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
Enlighten your day with Starr Radio. Starr Radio. Radio for the people, by the people.
Love for you runs deep. All of you makes my heart beat. You make a doubt they fade. Jesus, and that's what makes you great. Hold the world in your hand.
This is Starr Radio UK.
The hand that made me who I am.
Welcome.
Same for now, yesterday, and forevermore. And that's what makes you great.
Okay, let me say massive good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you, wherever you might be on planet Earth. Now the other people on other planets as well, the other planets being discovered as well. So if you are there listening to us as well, we want to salute each and every one of you, and we say welcome to the Friday edition of the morning show. Today is the 28th day of April, the year 2023. Wow, 2 days more and the month is over. My goodness. All right then, so wherever you are this morning, we hope that you had a good night or a good morning or whatever it is that you are experiencing or enjoying now. But brace yourself, it's going to be a very bumpy time. But hey, we promise you one thing for sure. That you're going to get to your destination in peace and not in pieces. So let me say good morning to my team this morning. Mr. Frank Davis, Mr. Olayomi Koiki, and Mr. Dan Tabiri, CEO of GIL Accountancy Service and Money Man. Good morning to you all, gentlemen. To my able producer, Mr. Francis Guy, pulling all the strings, correcting and making sure everything comes your way perfectly. Yes, good morning to you, Mr. Francis Guy. I also want to take this opportunity to say good morning to Felix all the way in Aberdeen, Kojo D, good morning to you, Anthony Adedeji, Bishop Adeshina, Pastor Momo. Olakunle, good morning to you. And our own HRH Linda Palian all the way in Cyprus. Linda, good morning to you. I hope you are doing very, very well. And baby Ya Asantua. And say hello to Mr. Palian for us as well. So let me crack on. Let me say it this way. All protocol observed and welcome on board. During the course of the program, you can share with us your take on any issue that is going on. You can put it on our Facebook page or any of the social media platforms that we are broadcasting on. We'll read it out. But the lines will be open at a particular time during the course of the program at 12 o'clock. And then we'll have a chance, if you want to air your voice, we want us to know who you are, what you want to say there. So feel free to do so as well. But wherever you are, don't touch the dial. But I'm going to bring you the quote of the day, the weather forecast, policy, then the travel update as well. Move on from there to have a look at some of the stories making the rounds, known as global trotting. At 11 o'clock, Mr. Olayomi will be joining us to bring us updates from Nigeria. Jesus. Then we'll continue with the conversation, looking at stories making the rounds across the globe. Ghana, Africa. Somebody say Africa. Ghana is in Africa as well. Right? We're okay. Looking in depth in Ghana, and then Africa as a whole. Then we look at the world as a whole. Attracted to bring the first part of the program to close, and then we'll be having Mr. Dan Tabiri, CEO of GIL Accountancy Service, our money man, joining in to bring you the money hour. Then after that, we'll bring the curtains down for the end of the program. So in Nigeria, that's what's going to happen. But the program will not be void of lovely tunes, as you are hearing now from Edith Morrison. What makes you great? Once again, welcome to the program.
This is radio.
Okay, the quote for the day says, just as it is the desire of most women to have a child someday, it is equally the desire of every human being to be successful in whatever they do. What are you doing as a woman who is preparing for a baby or trying to make sure that everything takes along nicely? The same thing comes to being successful or being in business. What about that? Well. Okay, let's crack on. Love for you. Now, we are short of lovely weather over the weekend, the bank holiday weekend. You know, I didn't know that. I've forgotten that tomorrow, this weekend is a bank holiday weekend, you know. So I was monitoring, I was like, is it a king's coronation or what? See, missing in action. All right then, but let me tell you what the weather is going to be for you today, tomorrow, Sunday, and the bank holiday Monday. Okay, so this is how it's going to be for you. Today is going to be staying cloudy for a time in the afternoon with the chance of the odd shower developing. Some late sunny spells may develop towards the end of the day as well. And then tonight will start largely dry with lenny clear spells as just a few areas of cloud. However, the cloud will tend to increase through the early hours. So the temperature is going to be 18 degrees. The low is going to be 7 degrees. Pollen level is going to be high, UV level moderate, and pollution low as well. Okay, so sunset is going to be at 20:04 and sunrise for tomorrow morning 04:39 hours. But again, when it comes to the temperatures, a summary of the temperatures for the weekend. All of you Saturday, mixture of cloud and sunshine. Top temperature 19 degrees, the lowest 8 degrees. Sunday, same. Top temperature 18 degrees, the lowest 8 degrees. And then Monday, top temperature 19 degrees, the lowest 8 degrees. A mixture of cloud and sunshine there as well. So if you have any activity planned, I think it's going to be a good one. What about that? So come your way from Starr Radio UK. That brings us to the end of the weather forecast. We're going to be traveling pretty soon, so we're going to be going on your travel update. So wherever you are, don't you go away. A quick commercial break and we continue from there. Stay tuned and don't touch the dial.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Okay, so keep your eyes on the roads. Keep your eyes on the roads. As you keep you navigated, I promise I'm on the Starr Radio Travel Up that comes to every weekday from 10:40. It's not 10:51 though, so let's crack on. So on the underground this morning, I can tell you assuredly, good service throughout, apart from the Elizabeth line. That is got minor delays between Hayes and Harlington and Maidenhead while they fix a signal failure at Ealing Broadway. Good service on all the rest of the line though. Now, London Overground, DLR, London Tramlink has also got good service there. But moving on straight to the major roads in London, North Circular A406 is the only one that's got serious delays. That aside, all the others, no exceptional delays there. Now, keep your eyes on the roads, keep your eyes on the roads as to keep you navigated. Now, moving on straight to the river bus this morning, good service there as well. The London cable car has also got good service. Now, let's get to the final segment of the travel update. That is the National Rail. So on the National Rail this morning, cross country, Heathrow Express, Northern Rail and Southwestern Railway have all got minor delays. However, Great Western Railway has got severe delays, so please check before you leave. Avanti West Coast and all the others have got good service there. So on that note, let me say it once again as I normally do. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today, but you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the road.
everyone, Rouge from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Welcome back to the program. It is Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I'm bringing the time now to exactly 7 minutes to the top of the hour, and let's go global trotting. Well, across the globe, that's what's happening. But let me tell you from here what we have for you that we're going to be sharing with you in depth as the program goes on. Well, here in the UK, starting from here, of course, the BBC chairman Richard Sharp have resigned after Boris Johnson loan row. A report finds Sharp failed to disclose two potential conflicts of interest when applying for the role. He said, you know what? All that I did was just do the introduction. I wasn't involved in any way, shape, or form. But well, as the laws or the rules or institutions of things system works here, see him is left. But if it come to any part of Africa, what would we have seen? Well. Let's go on. APC speaks on zoning 10th National Assembly leadership positions, and Buhari holds progressive governance, says overconfidence killed opposition in last election. Okay, so they have to have they should be overconfident, right? Okay. Now, We Are Brothers drama as Tony Lumelu spends 23 billion to take back Transcorp form, and the Malami Knox reps says claims of illegal 2.4 billion oil sale is false. How false is false? We'll be telling you more about that. A court has granted federal government to file 9 new grounds against Nnamdi Kano's release. Wow. Yesterday, whilst we were on air, information came in that the court had decided to adjourn the case once again to sometime in May. But now the court has granted the federal government leave to file 9 new grounds against Nnamdi Kano. The person is incarcerated. What I say that again? Well, we're going to tell you more about that in a moment. It is all coming your way from Star Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, just bear with me. Just bear with me there. Okay, and Nigerian students fleeing Sudan have continued journey. Abike reacts to that as well. Adeyemi, ex-governor's son, and others demand cancellation of Kogi APC primary governments to meet Buhari on new revenue formula presentation to NAS. And then moving on to some other stories making the rounds on the African continent. Kenyans plant their age in trees to combat deforestation. Well, deforestation is going on. Is it because we've been just hewing down trees and not replanting them or replacing them? Let me put it that way. Replacing them. Is that what is happening? Now, thousands of Sudanese families cross into Egypt to flee fighting. Another one again. Now, fighters rampage in Darfur as Sudan extends fragile truce. So we'll see what is going to happen on that front there. It's all coming your way from Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Libyan protests accusing militias of recruiting migrants. Oh my goodness. Going to turn the focus on migrants now. They see any migrant, they'll think that, wow, it's one of them. Well. Okay, now moving on straight to some other stories making the rounds. Family of late Adams Mahama disappointed by Gregory Afoko verdict. We'll be telling you more about that verdict. And the GRA sets May 1, 2023 as implementation date for 3 key tax measures. Okay, Gold Mafia, Al Jazeera must retract and apologize to Kufuor. Jubilee House is saying, well, are they going to? Do they have evidence enough to prove that beyond all reasonable doubt the president is some way, somehow involved as they have claimed? Well, we'll be telling you more about that as the program goes on as well. And AG, okay, it's amendment with jury system, and that is why the families are upset about the Gregory Ali Muhammad's case involving Gregory Afoko. All right then. Prepare for price hikes on some goods from May 1, Guta to Ghanaians. Now, if you look at the exchange rate and the type of inflation that Ghana is facing, I don't know whether it's gone beyond galloping. I don't know whether it's galloping beyond galloping. I don't know what economics will term that. But well, that's what is being said there. And Guta is saying that Ghana Union of Trade Association is saying that well, prepare yourself because of course, if they are importing stuff into the country, what do you expect? The exchange rate is going through the roof, cost of living and everything, inflation. So how did they get that? We'll be telling you more about that. But moving on straight to some other stories making the rounds as well across the globe. 13 dead after Russian missiles hit Ukraine. Among those killed were a mother and her 3-year-old daughter in the city of Dnipro, officials have said. And Pope on Hungary visit dominated by Ukraine war. Pope Francis disagrees with Hungary's stance on Russia's invasion of Ukraine and its refugee policies. Well, we'll tell you more about that. And Turkish evacuation plane fired on in Sudan. That is a bad one. Paramilitary fighters deny involvement, saying they are committed to extended truce. So, is a truce? Is it a kind of truce that cannot be a truce? What do you think about that? I will tell you more about that as the program goes on. Palestinians condemn EU chief over racist trope. Well, that's what's going to be coming. So wherever you are, don't touch the dial. It is Starr Radio UK. We're going to take a musical break, and once we come back, we'll continue with the show. This time around, let's go to Ghana. Let's join the Joyful Way Incorporated and one of their oldies, known as Wanjoyi in Ghana, meaning we are praising you or we praise you. Enjoy it, and I'll be with you in a moment.
Somebody give Jesus some praise.
Radio UK.
In your car.
At work.
At home.
On your smartphone. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
This is Starr Radio UK.
You are listening to Starr Radio
In your car.
At work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. A lovely Friday morning here in London, where we bring you everything that you need to know when it comes to the news. And enjoying some music in the background now from the Joyful Way Incorporated. Wanjoyi. And I hope that back in the day, those of you who are going to the art center, or you know, that time we were going to the art center back in the day. For all those musical stuff, you know. So one of the oldies there. But how about medium morning this day? Don't you worry, I'm going to bring you a variety of songs. While we're celebrating any special day today, we want to salute you and we say have a best of the day. But once we wait from Salah, you're quite good to join in. We'll be going to Niger to look at some of the stories making the rounds there. That is the updates. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Commercial break, we come back and we continue with the show. So wherever you are, don't touch the dial. Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, on a Friday edition of the morning show.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business, but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Okay, welcome back to the program Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I'll bring you the time now to 8 minutes past the top of the hour. Let me just go through some of the headlines making the round this morning in Nigeria, whilst I get Mr. Frank Davis and Mr. Olayomi to just get himself in. So just bear with me whilst we continue on that path. All right then. So when it comes to some of the stories making the rounds, as I did say earlier on, yes, in Nigeria today, yes, APC speaks on zoning 10th National Assembly leadership positions. So what are they going to give it to? The PDP or the Labour Party? The All Progressive Congress has denied media reports that it has zoned the 10th National Assembly leadership position to some particular geopolitical zones of the country. Information coming through says to microzone the Senate presidency of the incoming 10th and National Assembly to the South region, which the President-elect Bola Tinubu vehemently rejected. Okay? Now, in a statement on Thursday night, the spokesman of the APC, Felix Walker, stated clearly that the party had not zoned any position of the incoming National Assembly to any of the country's 6 geopolitical zones. Now, Walker noted that such reports being circulated on social media did not come from the party, adding that it would communicate its decisions via its official information channels if there will be such arrangement. He said the attention of the All Progressive Congress has been drawn to the versions of zoning arrangement for the 10th National Assembly leadership position in circulation, in section of social media. The information did not emanate the party and should be disregarded. To be clear, the party has yet to zone position of leadership of the 10th National Assembly, and decisions made in that regard will be duly communicated by the party's official information channel. The aspirants of the Senate presidency include Senators Godwill Akpabio from Akwa Ibom Northwest and OG Ozo Kalu Abia North, Jibrin Baru Kano North, Sani Musa Niger East, Abdul Aziz Yari Zamfara West, Ali Ndome Bono State, Osita Izanazu Imo West, and Dave Omahi Ebonyi State. And also they've got Adam Oshimole of Ido North. So those are the ones who are going to be competing for that position. How they are going to be elected is a story that one day we'll get to. But for now, that is what is happening on that front. It's all coming away from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, and then one other story as well. Buhari hosts progressive cabinet and says overconfidence killed oppositions in last elections. That actually makes sense. The President Muhammad Buhari has asserted that while the All Progressive Congress was working hard to retain power in the recent elections, the combined opposition was a victim of overconfidence. Malam Garba Shehu, the president's spokesman, in the statement said the president stated that it stated at his residence in the State House when he received members of the Progressive Governors Forum led by their chairman, Governor Atiku Bagudu of Kebbi on Thursday. The president therefore identified overconfidence on the part of the opposition as main reasons why they lost the presidential election. He said they were already telling their foreign backers that they would defeat the APC. Our party blended confidence with caution. We worked hard and won. Now, their overconfidence is creating more problems for the opposition than anyone else. they are finding it hard to convince those who supported them from outside why they are unable to beat us. Now, it went further to say a combination of overconfidence, complacency, and bad tactical moves made them lose plain and clear. Now, this has created more problems in their camp. Why did they fail to remove us? Now, speaking in response to an issue raised by Bagadu, the leader of the forum, Buhari, said, an important reason I congratulate Asiwaju on winning is that the opposition got support and false hope from outside and went on to create the impression that they will win, that they will defeat us. How more wrong could anyone be? He asked. Now, the president charged the progressive governors to stick together and openly address issues among themselves. Try and keep solving problems. Be courageous to discuss them openly between yourselves. This is the best way to survive politically in Nigeria. It goes on further to say, that's the governors, have a program to meet regularly and to discuss issues and how to maintain the party nationwide, he added. Now, Buhari also spoke at length about his retirement proposal, saying that he intended to be at home in Douala for 6 months before moving eventually to Kaduna. He thanked Governor Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State for the infrastructure he had provided that would make life for his retirement and that of the people of the state much better, adding that the governor of Kano had equally done the same. The chairman, Atiku Bagudu, said the visit was ostensibly to say happy Salah to the president and to thank him for the leadership he had given to the party and the nation. Now, this being their first visit since the election, they congratulated the president on the party's victory in the presidential polls, saying, "Congratulations, your party won the presidency, a majority in the Senate, and for being the leading party in the House of Representatives." So virtually he's saying that we won, hands down. But the question is, was it a free and fair elections? And he was saying that, you know what, the opposition were filled with complacency and overconfidence, and that's what caused them. So what about the rigging? What about all those things that went on during the elections? He didn't touch on that. Did he touch on the anomalies? What do you think about all that? We're going to be telling you more about that in a moment, but it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages wherever you might be as well. Starr, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Let's take a quick break and we continue with the show.
Hi guys, this is your friend Uruj from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it, you're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR, S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life. You are listening to Star Radio Morning Show.
Welcome back to the program. It is Star Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Whilst we still wait, in hope of getting Mr. Olayomi Koiki on, I've got with me Mr. Frank Davis in the house as well. So we'll go to Frank and let me say good morning, Frank.
Archie, good morning and good morning to our listeners, wherever they are, our viewers. We thank them.
Now, I hope you are doing well.
I'm doing great.
Okay. Now, before we commence the broadcast, we had this breaking news that came from the UK front, and that's pertaining to the chairman of the BBC, who an inquiry was set because allegedly he introduced a financier to the then Prime Minister Boris Johnson before his appointment as the chairperson or the chairman of the BBC. However, Labour initiated an investigation. Now the report had come and actually said that, well, what it did might not have directly impacted his position. I mean, the chances of he getting that position. But because he didn't declare it, there is a conflict of interest there. And this morning, this gentleman has been bold enough to come and just put in his resignation. And then, so you look at that and you ask yourself, what kind of world are we living in? You live here and then you live back in Africa. How do you see it?
Opposite a tail and a head. You have a tail, the tail and the head of democracy. That is what you're watching.